A huge moo to the herd, and welcome to episode 7 of our Gregicality Skyblock playthrough. So we begin this episode with a tale of caution, or a cautionary tale. So between episodes, I started moving all my stuff from down here to up here, and I put a load of stuff in, and I thought, do you know what? 100 items isn't enough for my miscellaneous stuff, so I'm going to upgrade this to 200 items. So if we get the storage module, out here, we look at the recipe. It's like, take the tier 1 storage module, surround it with some stuff, and bang, we have our tier 2. So I crafted up all the stuff, took my tier 1 module, remember, with all this stuff in it, put it in there, and the little voice in the back of my head said this was a bad idea. And it turns out I was proven correctly, because it deleted all of my stuff, which was a shame. So I've had to start recouping resources a bit, but I also used it as an opportunity to do some tweaks, etc. So for instance, I've upgraded my tools to steel, just to give them a little bit more longevity. And I've also done a little bit of process automation. So this is a ore processing chain. I have a wooden crate, which I could just drop any of the chunks, etc. in. That will then move it into a steam macerator, which will double it, forge hammer, furnace, and eventually out into a wooden crate. And I'm achieving all of this using these little flat transfer nodes, which are really easy to create. There are hardly any resources whatsoever. In fact, the flat transfer node is just a normal transfer node and an anvil combined together, and you get 8 of these. So I made up a load of those, and that's what I've been using for automation. So it's made things a little less painful in terms of getting the resources back. And over here, I've done something similar with my, I've created a second forge hammer and the sieve, so I can then pop the granite into the chest, so the crate, and that will then make it into crushed granite, which will then sieve it, and I get a load of resources. So, you know, whilst it was a bit of a pain, it's not the end of the world. So I'm quite pleased with that. I've added a redstone clock onto my seared drain, so that I can automate the smeltery a little bit. And again, I've got transfer nodes coming on the casting basin and the casting table to output into the chest, just to speed things up a little. Obviously, this will fire off both sides, so all I've done is taken the faucet off, whichever one I'm not using. Not ideal. Ideally, I want to create another seared drain and another clock, but this will do for the time being. So, today's episode. I think it's time we move into LV machines. One of the things that was quite obvious is the amount of resources I'm burning through just trying to get simple things done, like making wires or making plates. So to that end, I think what we're going to do today is we're going to make a steam turbine and a wire mill up. And then after we've done that, I'm going to try and make up a bending machine so that I can get plates done a lot cheaper. Now, I went over to my test world just to have a play around to see what things are like, and I think this is going to be okay. It's going to be a bit messy to start off with, but you know, it doesn't matter. This is the whole point of the game, is that you build and build and build until you've got lovely automated processes and you're making tons and tons of stuff. So let's get started with the first thing, which is our steam turbine. Now I'm going to need to make some tin rotors. So curved tin plate, so we're going to need 8 curved tin plate, some tin rings and tin screws. So I'm not going to make you watch me create all of these. What I'll do is I'll get those crafted off camera, and then when we come back, we'll put our turbine together. So we'll be right back. Okay, that's us back. Now, hopefully, I should have everything to make the steam turbine, which I have just done. So that's our first power source. And I'm just going to pop this. Where shall I pop this? Let's pop it here for the time being. And what I want to do is take a wrench. Do I have a wrench? Here it is. Just see if I can rotate it on that dot there. Okay, because that's going to be my power output. The next thing is the wire mill. Should have everything for that. I do. Brilliant. And got some tin cable made up already. And what I want to do, hopefully, I just take that out, that out. Go 1, 2, 3. Okay. So if I now drop my wire mill on here, I'm a bit pointless doing that. But there's some logic there somewhere. Right. So now we need some steam. So if I take my fluid ducts, just connect to 1, 2, and 3. You're now generating power. Actually, I think what I want to do is I want to pop you there and remove this one. That way I can stack up turbines later on. Right, so my wire mill has power now, so I'm going to disable overclocking because I don't think that this little guy is going to be able to provide me enough power. But there are our first LV machines in. We have a power supply that's outputting 32 EU, I think it is, and our wire mill. So now we can look at the next one, which is the metal bender. Or bending machine, I think it is. Basic bending machine. Add that in. Right, so I've got the electronic circuits. I've got a machine hole. I need some tin cable. Now, tin cable becomes so much easier to make when I can just take my tin ingot and stick it straight in here and get 2 without any effort whatsoever. So that gives me the tin wire. Now, I've updated the pack. When did I update the pack? Yesterday, I think it was. And they've added a new thing, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Actually, I need to go and get some sawdust. Where are we? Yeah, the wood pulp. How much am I going to need? Just take a lot. Yeah, they've added something in. So before, to make tin cables, we needed some black carpet, some string, and whatever the wire was, which was a bit cumbersome. But now, what we have is something much better. And if I just go back upstairs, take our paper, we'll take the sticky resin, which is easy to make. Now we've got cows and we have, and if we reverse that, now we've got cows and we've got mushrooms. We now can make duct tape. And duct tape is brilliant because we can use that duct tape just as you would in real life to make tin cables. Here we go. So what else do we need for our bending machine? We're going to need some more motors. We're going to need pistons. So the thing with the motors is, again, we're going to need copper wire. Really easy to make now. So I can make all that up. What about the pistons? Do we need anything interesting? Small steel gear. It's just a hammer and a steel plate. Steel rods, again, just a file, more tin cables and more steel plates. So let me make these off camera, and when I come back, we'll hopefully get our bending machine in place and we can start looking at potentially cheaper plates, which will allow us to do a load of other stuff. So we'll be right back. Okay, so in that break, I have crafted up everything we need for our bending machine. So we should be able to just do that and pop one bending machine. The other thing I did was I crafted up another integrated logic circuit. Reason being is I know that we're going to need to turn that into a program circuit so that we can actually use the bending machine. So drop that out, and we'll take our tin cable. Done. And we'll just drop our basic bending machine on top. Now, this can only produce 1 amp of power. Our cables can only support 1 amp of power, which, if I understand Gregtech correctly, means that I can only operate 1 machine at a time. So if I was to try and use the wire mill and the bending machine at the same time, it would all just go horribly wrong. So we won't do that. The other thing is, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to output enough power to keep the basic bending machine running. But we'll see. So, I put program circuit 0 in, and let's say, I don't know, what could we need? Well, let's check our quests off first. 13 for that, 10 for that, very generous with the old coins, 16 for our basic wire mill, and another 12 for the electric piston, which is all very good. What should we focus on next? The forming press or the cluster mill? What's the cluster mill give us? That's like 6 motors, an LV machine hole, some circuits. And the forming press is a couple of pistons, more circuits, some tin cables. What's it useful for? Making some coins. Not sure that's useful. Making mold plates. I'm not sure again if that's that useful because they're relatively simple to make. I mean, the recipe for that is just an empty shaped plate with a hammer. So, what else are you useful for, my friend? Get rid past all the plates. Mixed metal ingots, that could be useful. Again, not sure we have a requirement for it. Reactor casings, circuit boards, mica based sheets, that could be useful. Now, I was looking at something from mica. I remember what it was. Mica insulation sheet, mica insulator foil. Yes, XNet. That could be useful for using XNet. Okay. Or do we go with the centrifuge or the conveyor module? An electric sieve, that could be useful. Or do we build another steam turbine? Not sure. There's so many choices. Basic alloy smelter, electric furnace could be useful. The problem is we're kind of hamstrung by power at the moment. Because, as I said, we can only operate 1 machine at a time. And the more intense those machines are, the more we're going to have a problem. So, I think I would like to try. Yes, I'm going to make a bucket. I know it sounds really silly, but buckets require plates and curved stuff. So, at the moment, I have to make curved plates by putting it over a bending cycle, iron plate, etc. But with program circuit 1 and an iron plate, I can make a curved iron plate. So, I need 3 iron, and we're just going to turn those into plates. Now we're on 1:1 rather than 3:2, which is really, really good. All right, and then I'll just take 2 of those out, take my circuit, switch that up, drop these 2 in. Cool, so that's my curve. So that's going to mean making pipes is significantly easier. Drop that all in, and that's another bucket. So that bending machine is already paid for itself, because we're now, instead of going 3:2, we're now going 1-to-1. So that's going to save us a lot of materials. We are going to need more turbines. We are going to need to increase the capacity of our tin cables from 1x to 2x or even 4x probably would be a better option. Which if to get that ampage, we're going to need 4 steam turbines. I wonder if a battery buffer would be useful on this one. What do we need for a battery buffer? Right, so if we went for a 4 amp battery buffer, that's just an LV machine hole, some 4x tin wire, and chest. That's pretty easy. The big thing is for batteries, we're going to need, even if we went sodium, we're going to need a canning machine, and the battery holes are made using just some battery alloy plate and a tin cable. Battery alloy plate is, I'm guessing, an alloy smelter, antimony and lead. So, do we go and make a battery buffer, some 4x cables, and then look at building additional steam turbines so that we can power the machines a bit more easily? If we did, we need a canning machine. What does a canning machine require? Some glass circuits, LV machine holes, electric pump. Ooh, do we make an electric pump? This looks like a fun thing to do. I use the term fun loosely. Tin rotors easy, motors we're making relatively easy, tin cables. I think we could do another quest, get a pump, and then get a canning machine done. If we got a canning machine done, we could look at making up some batteries and do that. Okay, I think that's what we'll do, is we're going to make a canning machine. We'll add that to the end of our line here. And then we'll look at getting some battery alloy stuff made up. What we'll then do is we'll probably take up all our machines, move them along, and have a battery buffer, our machine line, and put a couple of batteries in there, and then we'll look at trying to get some additional turbines once that's done. So let me go and craft up the stuff we need for the pump and the canning machine, and I'll probably make up the battery buffer as well. And the stuff for the battery buffer, and then when we come back, we'll craft those up and see if we've got the start of some proper machines going on. So we'll be right back. So we're back. Took a bit longer than I expected because I was doing some checks, etc. before I made up the old fluid canning machine, or the canning machine, and the battery buffer. And I realised to make batteries you need to put something in them. Normally that would be sodium, lithium or cadmium. All 3 of those you need to electrolyse stuff. So if we take lithium dust, electrolyser of clay dust. That's a simple enough recipe. So I could make up an electrolyser. Or lepidolite dust. Could, just make up an electrolyser. No problem at all. But the problem is, if you look at the tier required, it's MV. And we've only just scratched on LV. So I don't think we're going to be making up an MV electrolyser anytime soon. Although we probably will need to. So yeah, that was a bit of a pain. But what I've decided to do instead is, because we're making a lot of motors, and one of the things we're going to need is the just find the motor, magnetic rods, which is 1 iron rod and 4 redstone. It's quite expensive on the old redstone, so I'm going to make up a polarizer instead. I've got all the components, so just pop that in. And what it should mean is, when it comes to making up the motors that we will inevitably be doing a lot of, it should save us, excuse me, quite a bit of redstone. So again, another step to making things a lot easier. A bit disappointing that we weren't able to make the battery buffer up, but that's not the end of the world, because there's plenty of other stuff we can do. Just got to figure out what that is. I'm thinking that getting a cluster mill might not be a bad idea. We could get a compressor and a macerator to replace our steam ones, but the steam ones are working at the moment, so there's no immediate need for that. The assembling machine could make life a lot easier for us, and we just need some robot arms. So that's what, tin cable, not difficult to make. Steel rods, we can easily make those. Refined processors or circuits, a little bit more involved, but again, could easily be done. Pistons, we've made those before. And motors, as I said, we made that a little bit easier by getting the polarizer in. So we've made that a little bit cheaper. So I think what we'll do is we'll look at making up some robot arms. Once we've made up the robot arms, we'll look at making our basic assembling machine. The reason we want the basic assembly machine is because it makes putting things together a little bit easier. For instance, the vacuum tubes that I'm currently making, what are they taking me? Vacuum tube is 2 bits of paper, glass tube, 3 bits of copper wire. Although I will be switching to fine copper wire because that's significantly cheaper. I mean, one ingot gives me 2 copper wire, which gives me 6 fine copper wire. So yeah, definitely switch over to the fine copper. The assembly machine, it's just 2, 2 and 2, so it is cheaper. So it's definitely worth going down the route of making the assembly machine. Now I wonder if, I know in other packs these were a lot cheaper as well. Yeah, they are. Yes, they are. So 4, 4 and 1 gives me 8 resistors. Now that's definitely worth doing, especially if we get some glue. And glue we will need a centrifuge for. So I think we've got a plan as to what we're going to do next. We are going to make up some robot arms. We're going to make an assembly machine up. And we'll probably make a centrifuge up as well. Especially as I want to be getting some glue, but we could also use that to make rubber and the likes. So again, we'll pause recording here so I can get all the components for the robot arms, and then we'll get all the components needed to make up. Actually, that's a bit of a fly in the old ointment, because I need rubber now, and the only way to get rubber is with centrifuge or a chemical reactor. Chemical reactor. Raw rubber pulp and sulfur. I've got some sulfur, so raw rubber pulp is just a centrifuge of sticky resin. Alright, let's dial back the plan a little bit then. So we need a basic centrifuge, check. I think I've got on my list. And we're going to need a basic chemical reactor as well. Once we've got those two, we can get that made up, and then we can look at making up an assembling machine. The assembling machine will probably be in the next episode, but what we'll try and do is we'll try and get the 2 machines that we've got now. Just take those off my list for now. Centrifuge and chemical reactor for the end of this episode, and then we can look at doing the necessary components to do the assembling machine in the next episode. So we'll be right back. Okay, well actually it looks like we're not going to have enough time to do the additional things in this episode. I was just going through the materials list, and it's going to take quite a bit of gathering stuff to get the centrifuge and the chemical reactor done. So our plan for the next episode will be to get a centrifuge, chemical reactor, then get the robotic arms, and then get the assembling machine. Now once we've got those machines, the other thing I want to look at potentially is getting a bronze boiler. Is that what it's called? Bronze boiler? The large bronze boiler. So instead of us having these high pressure steam coal boilers, which are keeping up at the moment, but I want to get the large bronze boiler in place so that we can generate more steam and have some more turbines. And if we can have more turbines, then we can have more ampage going through the cables. And if we can have more ampage going through the cables, that means I can have more machines running at the same time. That's the theory. So yeah, they're the things we want to get done in the next episode. I'm really pleased, I have to say, with getting the LV machines in place. Just these two machines alone has saved considerable amounts of resources and time, and a little bit of frustration, I have to say. And this is one of the things I love about these progression mod packs, especially when you start off in a very grindy, oh, this is going to take forever, these are all the resources you're going to burn through just to do the most basic things. Then you get into the basic machines and you're able to get things done very quickly. And as you do more and get more process chains going, etc., things just become so much easier. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, feel free to give it a like. If you'd like to see more episodes, then please feel free to subscribe. Until then, I wish you a very pleasant day. Goodbye.